Hey, welcome to my shop. I just got back from the sawmill picking up some lumber. Got some lumber planed for a huge project I've got coming up, and I'm back at the house now. I need to turn some table legs, and I thought I would do a part two to a video I did in the past about my turning room. It's about 11 at night right now. My wife is out of town visiting someone. So I've got the house, which means I can play in my shop as late as I want, so I'm taking advantage of this. That's one of the things I've enjoyed doing in the past quite a bit, is working really late in the shop, making things. You just get into the zone and get creative and just work until you want to. So I normally can't do that because, again, the shop's in the basement, and as you can see, it's probably pretty loud up there. I've never actually been up there when someone's down here doing this crazy stuff, as I'm the one that's making all the noise, but there's the subfloor. So I'm sure she really gets an earful up there, but she claims it doesn't bother her, which is amazing. So the part two is going to be on the lathe room. I'm just going to talk about a bunch of different random stuff, whatever I want. There's going to be some changes in here. So first I'll just do a miniature tour. Let me back up. And I decided to not clean up because I was like, I'm just going to show it what it normally looks like. I was like thinking I needed to clean up the whole place before I got going. So I thought I would do this as a kind of a more casual thing, as I think that's a good option for this particular video. So this is the shop kind of mid-project. I made a table base yesterday, or finished a table base yesterday, and then realized I made the wrong size, so I had to restart all over again, and I tore the shop to shreds doing it. It was really not all that bad. It's just some stuff needs to be put away. So that's the main part of the shop, and then to the left is my little turning room. It's the doors outside, so now you know where we're at. So the turning room is about 15 feet, 16 feet long, and pretty narrow. So, you know, there's my arm. This is the center of my body. There's that. So it's whatever my wingspan is, so about 6 feet. So looking this way, you can see in the background, I've got a little CNC machine, my lathe, a shelf, and then this way is where I do all of my mortising for my table legs, and I store my table legs under here. So what I'm making the most of, that might be a good reference to tell people who are not familiar. This will be boring to people who are already watched, but I make mostly these table legs in this room. These are the legs that go to my farm tables that I make. And then there's the jig that goes on my lathe, so that clamps to the bed of my lathe. And then, there it is. Then that bad boy right there, an angle grinder with a Lancelot blade in it, goes on top of it, and then it follows that template there, and that's what cuts out those table legs. So that's what I do the majority of in here. That roughs them out, and then I clean them up by hand. So how about I just get detailed, and I'll just talk about things, and you can tune out if you don't want to watch anymore at any time. My mortising station, and I'll start with that, I'll go left to right, is just a Shop Fox mortiser. I need to do a video on this. I think this is a tool a lot of people would like, and it's pretty affordably priced, I think, for what you get. I kind of like this one better than some of the more expensive brands within this same kind of sized model. It's got a full 1 horsepower motor, or is it 3/4 horsepower? I'm not sure. But it's got a good strong motor, and it runs this 3/4 inch bit, which is pretty impressive. Now I'm usually only going into softwoods, making my tables, but you could inch your way through some heavier stuff too. They make an assortment of different bits for that. But this bench is just spanning between the two walls, covered with hardboard, just 2x4 construction to get it done. Got a power outlet, and then I put one fluorescent light, and this one I'd keep on the switch itself. The rest of the shop, and this is a big difference of what it was used to be like in here. I've got it all wired up now, so there's a light switch here, and I can turn the lights off, or, you know, turn lights on. And I put one fluorescent light. Those are just 4-foot 2-tube T8 bulbs. So they are nice and bright. What it looks like, at least on the viewfinder, is about what it looks like in person. So it's not like crazy bright. It's like a natural, normal, comfortable working brightness, which is, you know, a little brighter than you would have it inside your house, just to where your eyes don't bug out. And then down at the end, I'll show this. This really had nothing to do with turning. That is my small CNC machine. I'm just now getting into that, so I will talk about this more in the future. So I'm not going to get into that now, but a similar workbench as on the other side. But I really like having it in this room. It's nice. I just throw a piece of MDF, it's right here, that piece of MDF down there across the bed of my lathe and clamp it down. I turn that into a workbench. I let it kind of hang out here, put my computer there, hook it to it, and cut some junk out. There's some sample stuff there, but again, we'll talk about that later. Let me talk about these shower curtains real quick. I'm going to go all over the place in this video just because it's late and that's what I want to do. So as you can see, turning is messy, and part of this video is just to sort of show, I think, a very modest turning room, CNC not included in this in these comments, but everything else. I got an old lathe. I got a shelf I found on the side of the road a couple months ago. There's nothing special in here. Well, it's special, but it's nothing. Nothing's hard to acquire in here. I mean, I really like this little room. It's real fun to come into. I've got a wooden floor in here, which is good for, I think, a turning room, because at least I drop my turning tools all the time. I lay them on the lathe right there on the underside of the bed or on that lower shelf, and they're constantly falling off. And if I had a concrete floor in here, they'd be torn to pieces. Where was I? Okay, talking about these curtains here. I put these up to just kind of block out the shavings. I mean, when I'm turning stuff, my lathe is here. It's shooting chips. If I'm going down the leg this way, they're firing off that way. Normally, that whole table over there where the CNC machine is at would just be covered with every surface in this entire room would get shavings all over the place. I mean, they would be all over everything. These have made a huge difference. And all I did, let me find one. So I got these connectors right here. So this is a snap-on T-fitting. What they're meant for is adding a T into a line after the plumbing's been done without having to cut anything. You just glue it, snap it over the pipe, and then drill it out, and then you can plumb off of that. So what I did is took a little piece, then a threaded adapter, and then this piece is threaded here. So this is a male, and then this is female threads. And so this pipe strap, whatever you call that right there, clamps this to the joist. Then I have this adapter screwed into this, and then this clamps into that. I don't want to pull it out right now, but you get the idea. That snaps up in there. I didn't glue it to where I could take it on and off if I needed, but I don't. So that was a way to easily get that up there and let it hang down far enough to where I could move the shower curtain back and forth. Then I got some medium-duty shower curtains, not the cheapest ones, but not the expensive ones, and some cheap shower rings. And then I can totally enclose my lathe, and this has been great. Of course, the shavings are kind of over here now because I walk in and out so much. But when I go in there and I turn something like 20-some table legs all at once, normally I'll store table legs under here, and those are some blanks. I'll turn bunches of them at once with that duplicator, and that thing fires. It's like a rooster tail of shavings coming off that thing. I'll be 6 inches deep in shavings, over my ankles in shavings, and everything else is like dead perfectly clean in here. It will be just this like perfect little line of shavings all the way around the curtains. So this has made a huge difference, and it even helps with the dust. It gets very, very dusty inside of this, but I'm wearing all this junk here. So that's another good thing to shoot off on. Start with that. I wear a face shield most of the time, a respirator, and these style filters work good when you're wearing the face shield. I used to use the other type, the big bulkier kind that are about this thick, with the organic filters on it that just removes like pretty much everything, even bad smells, smoke, all kinds of stuff. They work really good. But these are more of like a dust mask type filter, and I really like them. You can still smell stuff, like if you're someone's cooking, or there's a fire, or like you smell a gas, you can still smell stuff like that, but it's just for dust. So it's good for woodworking stuff. It's easy to breathe through. and these filters are fairly cheap. I bought a big like multi-pack of like 20 pair or something like that. So what's nice though is it's really low profile, and that fits behind the face shield. And then I wear safety glasses underneath my face shield in case anything like bounces off my chest and up into my underneath the face shield. And then hearing protection. And then I don't have them over here, but I also have some really cheap Bluetooth earbuds. So just the little earphones that pop in your ear, and they're Bluetooth though, so I wear those underneath this. And then I set my computer over there, it's a Chromebook, right here behind my head, behind the curtain, so I can listen to things, because oftentimes I'll turn for maybe like maybe an hour straight or longer. 2 hours, about 2 hours would be the longest I probably want to fool with it and take a break. So I'll listen to different podcasts and stuff, like science-related stuff and things to do with stories, and some different other ones that I like. So that's sort of my safety things I'm wearing. This is something that's been real handy, really simple thing, but you don't have to do it the same way, but there's a window right here, and I drilled some holes and shoved those dowels in there, and that's been a real handy place just to, normally I'm turning table legs when I'm making anything, so I just pop the table leg right up there, and I can take measurements off of it if needed. Most of the time I don't need to take measurements for the stuff I turn, because I use the duplicator, then I clean it up by hand, and so I don't have to measure at that point. But in this case, I'm turning a larger version of one of my table legs, so I turned one, then I'm taking measurements off as I do the other ones, just checking diameters with my calipers and the different dimensions of those pieces. Turning tools, let's talk about that. Hope this video is good. If not, I can delete it. Y'all just let me know. These are the tools that I turn with the most. And I probably will call them the wrong thing. Turning is sort of its own big thing within woodworking. It's almost its own standalone thing outside of traditional woodworking, but I kind of do all of it. So I've got these two skew chisels, and all these are old chisels. Turning tools. I've never even bought any turning tools. I got these with this lathe when I got the lathe. And so I've got these two skew chisels. So one's a 1 inch and one's 1.5, it looks like. This one's slightly rounded on the front, and then the corners are knocked off. That's nice for smoothing things. And then this one is really straight and pointed, on the front and the back. And most of the time I'm using these like scrapers, not so much like a skew chisel. And I was recently informed that that is called a negative rake scraper, which I'm guessing really is just any time you use a scraper where the top, the bevel is on the top probably, which would cause a negative rake, which really kind of causes a dustier cut, at least in my experience. It's not so much like a peeling, slicing cut. So yeah, probably sort of like a scraper plane or something. It just deals with grain, wild grain easy is what I imagine. I like using them just because the tool's so versatile. You can flip it this way, you can flip it that way. I can use it up on its edge for doing lines. I can lay it up like a skew chisel and make really clean cuts. This tool, if I only had one tool to turn with, I'd probably pick a skew chisel. But that would suck to only have one. Then I've got this roughing gouge. It's just a 1 inch roughing gouge, or 3/4. I don't know how you really measure if it's outside or the dimension of the flute or something. But yeah, but that's that. I think that's an old Delta tool. So is this one. So this is just a regular scraper. So just a square scraper. But really I can use just these three, or really even just those two, and turn pretty much everything that I turn. But that does not mean that's the only ones I use. That's just the majority of the ones I use. Here are the rest of them. And all of them, they're all old, but they all work great. And then right outside of my turning room, right here, I have a 72-inch belt grinder, and I use that for sharpening them. And I just sharpen them all freehand. But I've got all the normal little stuff. Most of these are all kind of on the cheaper side. So some different little small gouges. This is the other one I use. You can see it's got a bright finish on it. That's just a little fingernail scraper, round nose scraper. Another skew chisel, use that every once in a while. Then I've got a parting tool somewhere, there it is, there's the parting tool. That's another common one. So coming up soon, me and my wife are going to make our nutcrackers, and I kind of go at it with all these. A lot of them will get used in that. This shelf here, that has been a very handy thing here in the turning room. I was coming home the other day, and this was on the side of the road, and did the thing where you look side to side and you say, is it really trash? It was leaning up against the dumpster, so I assume it was, and it had some nasty sticky stuff all over it that I was scared of, but got cleaned up. And popped it here, and that has been very handy, because it's when I'm inside of my shower curtain, if I could see out the back of my head, that's what it would look like. They come together better than that. And so I just reach in between here, I grab things and pull it right back. And so normally I stack everything up right here, and then I'm kind of silly. I would do all my woodworking in these Dollar General fake Crocs here, which is kind of dangerous because I can drop stuff on my toes, but they're too convenient for running in and out of the house and taking your shoes off. But I lay my tools there, and then they vibrate and they fall off the backside. So I try to just turn around and throw them all back in here, if possible. If I stick one right here, it won't vibrate. That's solid enough to keep it. But this is a sheet metal part, gets kind of crazy, especially when I'm roughing stuff out and the piece isn't balanced quite yet. My tool rest, this one I made, so this is just a piece of 1/4 inch steel. It looks like it's about a 2-inch strap, and then I just took a 1-inch pipe, which fits in the old banjo here, and see if I did it. I notched out that pipe and welded this in. I made a spinning wheel for my wife, I don't know how many years ago. It was back when she was just the old girlfriend. And I made this specifically for making those legs because I wanted to be able to turn the whole leg without moving the tool rest. The ones that came with the lathe are right here. Got the 12-inch one. This one, I mean, these are nicer than the one I made because they're stiffer. And then the little small one. I mainly just use the big one or either that one. The big one gets a little vibrating sometimes, but it's still nice. A lot of times I'm just doing little cleanup passes, so I don't need this to be super stiff. If I just welded probably like a 1/2-inch rod across the top of this thing, or sort of across the front, that would probably stiffen it up. Or some sort of, just something to make it stronger. Other than that, let's see, I think I'm about to run out of space on my memory card. Use these calipers a whole lot. A lot of times I just kind of hang them up like that, and I keep my tape measures and stuff on top of the table leg, work right off the top of that. Got a window here, which is nice in the daytime. Probably look crazy to the neighbors, like the movie The Burbs in the nighttime. None of them have any idea what I do. And then I have the one light, which is nice to really have that light right down on what you're doing. So this is this is what I'm seeing when I'm turning. It's just this angle right here. And, like I said, it's about what it looks like. Mentioned the floor. It's a raised platform. I really think that's about it. I don't know what else I can say. Mainly I turn table legs. And, sorry, I'm looking at how much time. I got 1:20 left. Mainly I turn table legs and turn other things sometimes. But for the most part, I'm just busy in here turning table legs. Once a year I make a nutcracker. I've made, so most of my turning is, I don't want to call it crude, but it's just fast, simple turnings like this. But I have turned a lot of things on a much higher level, so I do like turning on a high level. Most of it's spindle turning. I haven't done a lot of bowl turning, as my lathe is, pretty small. I'm looking at getting a larger lathe in the future. I was thinking about having this lathe here and then putting another lathe on the wall here. So there'd be very little room, but you only work one lathe at a time, so I don't care if it's narrow. And I thought about getting a larger lathe for this spot. So we'll have to see what happens. But I think that pretty much wraps it up. I know as soon as I hit the end record video, I'm going to think of something. that I'm not saying. But I think that's it. The last thing that I want to do in here is put some sort of an air filter up here to take some of the dust out of the air. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Well, I hope you all enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think about these kind of long, drawn-out, rambling videos. I know most of you just say in the past that you've liked them. I like to go into the details to where people who are new to things like turning don't get overwhelmed and think it's a bigger deal than it is, just to show a regular guy's basement with some tools in it. Of course, I've got maybe a few more tools than the average fella, but they're really nothing special. My whole shop added up. I mean, I am buying it all on the income that I have from making furniture, so that should be a clue of really what's involved in it, that it's not that hard to achieve. You just do it one tool at a time, and down the road you will have so many things that you won't have room for them. So just keep on the hunt for your tools and put your shop together as it best works for you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.